production of Pioneer Utility Resources. Story Connect, helping communicators discover ideas to shape their stories and connect with their customers.
How can artificial intelligence support utility storytelling? That's what we'll be talking about on this episode of the Story Connect podcast. Hi, I'm Megan McCoy-No, one of the storytellers at Pioneer Utility Resources and your host today. I am joined by Kyle Allwine, Manager of Public Relations at Northern Neck Electric Cooperative in Virginia. Kyle, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Megan. I'm excited.
I'm excited too because it's all about AI right now, and I've been reading sci-fi books for years, and it's finally here. So for listeners who might not be familiar with artificial intelligence, which we are calling AI today, can you briefly explain what ChatGPT is?
Yes, definitely, Megan. And this is full disclosure. I am not a computer scientist. I have played one on TV before, but it'll be as close as you're going to get to an answer. What I'm going to try to do is basically it's Siri meets Jarvis meets Google. And that's the most simple way I can explain ChatGPT. It's basically a personal assistant that has all of the Google archives and all that kind of fun stuff in its noodle, in its brain. And when you ask it questions, it will bring that information to you. So it's a tool. And there's a lot of fear around it because of headlines and all kinds of stuff like that. But it's a tool no different than, remember when people were in school and you weren't allowed to use Wikipedia as a source?
No. But then when I was in school, Kyle, what I remember is Google coming out and everyone being, ooh, you don't have to go to the library to search microfiche. We might have a slight age difference, but that's okay. So tell me about your college experience, Kyle.
So when I was in school, Wikipedia you could use as a source, and they were like, anybody can upload information, and how do you know it's real, and this and that. It's the same types of thing that we're seeing now with AI. It's the same types of concerns, like where's the information come from? How do they know that? And all the, it's the whole type of like, what in the world? But it's really not that scary right now. It's really just a tool, and it's just a few days ago, Google was under some pressure because it was kind of like Samsung was going to start dropping Google from their platform and going to a new search engine. So Google's announcing that they're going to be implementing some more AI into their search engine results. Microsoft Designer, which is like a competitor to Canva, or Adobe Express has recently launched, and that also has some AI behind it now as well. So it's the AI of the Terminator movies or things like that this is not that. This is really just
yet.
Exactly. But
it's not Skynet.
Yeah, it's not Skynet
yet.
But that's why I kind of like to describe it as like Jarvis from Iron Man, because Siri is not.
I didn't catch the Iron Man reference. Okay, I knew who Siri was, but I was thinking Jarvis, is that like one of the search engines that died and.
Yeah.
Right? From Yahoo or who was somebody had a search engine that was Ask Jarvis, and I thought that was the reference, but no.
It was like a butler's name. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, that was it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Jarvis is Iron Man, and in the first Iron Man movie, Jarvis is like this AI personal assistant. And,
I get it now. I remember.
Be like, hey, can you bring me the files from this? And Jarvis is like uploading them now. And eventually that's kind of more of what I think this is going to be is, to find those efficiencies in life. But yeah, so that's what ChatGPT is it's one of these kind of Jarvis meets search engine tools.
Okay. Now, OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT, and they are the same company that created DALL-E and DALL-E 2 to help you create realistic images. And that's what, Kyle, you were mentioning is now incorporated as part of, you called it Microsoft Designer?
Yeah.
Designer. Now, whether you're writing a story or creating an image, one of the key features of working with AI for storytelling is writing the right prompts, the questions that you're going to pose to AI, no matter which one. There's many competitors that are out there right now. Please never name them, Skynet. Last week, I heard the phrase promptographed. Have you heard that one? It was a photographer talking about it, and he had entered an AI generated picture into a contest and won for most like creative or experimental photography. And he won, and he turned down the award. He was like, no, I just want us to talk about this. But promptographed is a new term describing how artists are leveraging prompts to be able to get the right results to help them. So after you've been using ChatGPT for a few months, what advice would you have for a communicator who is writing a prompt for the first time?
So I think the best thing to do is, like I said a few minutes ago, this is really a tool. And the best thing about this tool is that if you mess up the first time, it's okay. Like, I know a lot of times when we use technology, we're like, uh-oh, like, what happens if I break it? Like, I love it when people, when I help my mom with IT things on her phone, and she's like, well, what if I break it? Well, you can't break it. Like, you just refresh the page. Like, if you don't get the prompts, if you don't get the answers that you like, you can just refresh the page and try again. So a lot of it's going to be trial and error. But the ways that I like to use it and find it the most useful is that I will, say, write an article for our magazine. And now I need to do like 8 million other things. I need a tweet. I need a LinkedIn post. I need a column for my CEO. I need a Facebook post. What if I get a call from the media and they have some questions for me? What are some questions that they might ask me about this article that I've posted? And well, I can get all those answers from ChatGPT if I just punch that article in there and then say, using this article, please do this for me. And yes, I am one of those people that puts please in my prompts. It doesn't really matter, but
that's so nice be nice to AI. You never know when it's gonna become sentient.
When it's Skynet, they're gonna be like, that Kyle Allwine guy, he was really nice to
me. We're gonna let him live for now.
That's right. So, but yeah, and then I'll ask it, please make me a LinkedIn post for key accounts, or please make me a post for, other co-op communicators, and it'll kind of start tailoring it. Another thing that you can do with it that's kind of cool is I don't really write in AP style, but our magazine is like, you have to write in AP style. Well, I can tell ChatGPT to put it in AP style for me. Then I don't even have to worry about it. Then I can just write how I like to write, which is just free. And another thing that you can do with prompts is you can kind of get started on how to even break through that initial writer's block.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what I need to know about fire safety in a home with electricity. So, you can ask ChatGPT, what are some things families need to keep in mind to keep their home safe from electrical fires? And it'll give you some bullet points. And then the last prompt recommendation I have is, a lot of us deal with very technical information. And we're not technical people, and sometimes people in our own organizations can't get things to like an explain like I'm 5 years old level. So be like, explain like I'm 5. What is an electrical fault? It'll tell you, and then you can be like, okay, but what is that? And you can then start like having a conversation with it like you would an engineer to kind of get to almost to the point where you can even say like, what are some good books for me to read about this topic, not knowing anything about it? And it'll give you book recommendations. So I just kind of use it like a search engine, but also I use it as a search engine where I can input my own information to tailor the results to what I need.
Well, and I've been playing with it for a couple months now as well, and I like asking it questions to make things easier. So before we got on to have this interview today, I asked it for advice as well on how to write a Chat GPT prompt. And here's advice not written by a human. Um, Number 1, be clear and specific. Make sure your prompt is clear and specific. It repeats itself sometimes about what you want ChatGPT to do. Avoid using vague language or open-ended questions that could lead to ambiguous responses. All right. Number 2, keep it concise. And then it repeats it again. Avoid writing long paragraphs or multiple questions in a single prompt because it makes it hard for ChatGPT to understand. Kyle, you were saying that you're very nice and say please and thank you, and you're trying to preserve your place digitally in its heart. So the third piece of advice that ChatGPT says is to use natural language as if you were speaking to a human. Obviously, they're trying to get us more comfortable with ChatGPT taking over the world. I think it's interesting that it says to avoid technical jargon or complex language that ChatGPT might not understand. Provide context and then test your prompts, which is what you were saying, to test it a couple different times. And then you can always, there's a button in ChatGPT that says regenerate. So as long as it's not talking about some creature that you're recreating, I think it's fine just to hit the regenerate and try it again. When I was writing headlines, it wrote one headline and I didn't love it. And so, but I didn't want to give it more specific styles or anything. I just hit regenerate and it gave me another option, which is nice. So yeah, just playing around with it a bit helps. And I love using it to find fresh approaches to a story. You don't have to deal with a blank page anymore. You can just ask it to help get you started on a story. I use a thesaurus all the time, or historically have, to try to come up with new phrases. And so this is basically, to me, the same as using spell check or a thesaurus on steroids, right? So it's fun, but it's not all sunshine and roses. No, I wish it was. And one of the big examples of this was Bard, which was Google's AI that they quickly launched when ChatGPT came out. They were like, oh, we've got one too. And they created an ad. Did you see that ad and the downfall afterwards? Yeah, the chatbot was like, here's an ad, and this is all these fun facts about space. And some of the facts that it shared were wrong. And Google's market value dropped by $100 billion the next day. So not great. Kyle, talk to me about the downside of AI-fueled storytelling and relying too much on these tools.
So I think a big one is a few minutes ago you mentioned the jargon piece, and it doesn't really understand emotion in writing. And what I mean by that is like the jargon. When we say line worker or things like that, that's when it gets confused because it scours the internet and all it's ever seen is the word lineman. Well,
it gives you football players.
Yeah, and then it starts getting confused. But so the jargon piece is definitely a pitfall, right? And the emotion piece is another big one. I find that a lot of co-op communicators often worry about their writing, like, oh, is my writing technical enough, or is it this, or is it that? But at the end of the day, it's your voice, or it's your co-op's voice. And every co-op does have a unique voice.
Yeah.
And by using ChatGPT too much, you run the risk of sounding more like, every other company in the world, as opposed to your local neighborhood friendly co-op. And so you really do need to look at it and ask it in the prompts. Like, I say, like, what does a family need to know about this? What does this need to, is because otherwise it'll give you, what a business would like, or what. I'm not talking to businesses. I'm talking to families. I'm talking to grandma. I'm talking to dad. I'm talking to, our neighbor. That's who a co-op is writing for. So, but I have used it to take technical language and make it concise and make it more clear. And that can help you with that voice piece. But that is, I think, the main pitfall or downside of this. Similarly with Microsoft Designer, if you're using a lot of AI generated images, you lose the authenticity of people in their communities. So I saw this with a couple of organizations on Line Worker Appreciation Day posting a stock image of a line worker and the members being like, why didn't you just post a picture of our line workers? Like, I don't know who this person is. So you can, if you use too many AI generated images or stock images, you're going to run into an issue where you don't look authentic. You're just like every other brand that's out there trying to get their attention. So you got to be careful, but that's why I kind of disclaimer my stuff. I use it as a tool to help enhance the things that I'm already doing.
I really like that approach. And I think it's healthy to think about it as a tool, not as hell or other.
Yeah,
That's another old movie reference. It's older than Iron Man.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, or Kit. Oh, dude. Yes. I'd be okay with Kit driving me around. Gotta say.
I can hang. I'll be all right.
Kit was a car, for those of you listening who are unaware of Knight Rider.
You can ask ChatGPT for the best episodes, and I guarantee
You can.
the best episodes that you should watch.
Well, Kyle, you summed up many of these ideas in a LinkedIn blog post titled 5 Ways a Co-op Communicator Can Use ChatGPT, which was a lot of fun. It's why I thought it'd be nice to talk to you today. Plus, I just enjoy our conversations. It's always nice. We'll link to that article when we post this podcast episode on our website at pioneer.coop/podcasts. But I was hoping you might be able to summarize, and you've shared a few of them already, but your favorite 5 ways that communicators can put ChatGPT as a tool and other AI-based platforms to work for their utility.
Definitely. So the first one I would say is to use it to make one piece of content into multiple types of content. So I don't think I've ever met a bored co-op communicator. We're always pressed for time. We always have 9 million things we could do. I've talked to a lot of co-op communicators who are like, I'd love to start a LinkedIn page. We have a bunch of people retiring and I just don't know where to start. Well, let ChatGPT do it. Let Microsoft Designer make the post for you to take the things you're already making and just tweak them for an audience that is people that don't work for you yet. So that's a great one, right? To just use it to make multiple different types of content. I think another one is people are not super great about SEO right now in co-op world. We haven't had to worry about SEO.
Search engine optimization for folks who don't have enough abbreviations in their lives.
So if you're a broadband co-op and you're trying to get members who sign up for your service, you're now trying to sell stuff. So you need to kind of focus more on search engine optimization. Ask ChatGPT to rewrite your article so it's more SEO friendly. Another one is hashtags. So it's always hard to find what hashtags should you be using on what platform, which ones are trending right now. Ask ChatGPT. It can take your content and it can give you hashtags based on that, because the last thing you also want to do is give hashtags that are not configured for your content, because then Facebook and others are going to just not show your content, even if you're putting it with the right hashtags, because it's conflicting with their messaging. And the last 2 things is, I would really just say that you can use it to make your email headlines and your teasers and all those kinds of things that are just like one-offs. And the last one I would say is, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, ask it as you're developing things like a crisis communications plan. Ask it, hey, if there's a tornado, what will a reporter ask me? And then you've got a reporter asking you questions, except it's ChatGPT. And then you can ask it, does this answer sound authentic? Does this answer that question? Does this, and you can kind of use that to go through those things to really develop that crisis communications plan. So I think those are kind of the top 5 ways that I've found to use ChatGPT over the last few months.
I really like that. And balance it, especially when you're talking to people in the workplace about it, balance it with editorial review, because ChatGPT doesn't actually know anything. It's just pulling it, right? We're creating this whole persona and naming it and all this, which is lovely and terrifying. But at the end of the day, it doesn't know anything. It's just Googling for information, or not Googling, that would be barred. But, binging, is that a verb yet? Maybe it will be. Searching for information, right? And while there is accurate information out there, there's also very factually inaccurate information out there too that it can pull. So I think it's also important to balance it out and make sure, if it's safety information, if it's, especially electrical safety information, or, tips for making the most of your broadband connection or anything like that, have somebody that actually knows the technology review it. Have you, as the communicator at your utility, review it to make sure it is factually accurate, because I think if we lean into it too much, we forget that it doesn't actually know all this stuff. It's just, as you said, it's a tool. It's just searching, and there could be some lies. It's like two truths and a lie. You have to ferret out what is actually, right.
I know those people always give three truths, but just three outrageous ones, and then whichever one someone clicks that they think it's a lie, I want them to just win so they feel better about themselves. So that
you're always thinking of others. Yeah. Well, before I let you go, do you have any last bits of advice for utility communicators that are debating how to use or avoid AI in the workplace? Anything that we haven't covered?
The only thing that I would say is I would encourage them to just play with it, to just test it, try it, see what works for you. If it works for your workflow and helps out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But I have certainly found that in my experience, I never have enough time to do everything. And, whether it's writing an email copy for new member email series, or, a fact sheet on rolling outages, or let someone else help you. You know what I mean? Like
something else.
Well, I'm saying whether it's ChatGPT or Pioneer, or, allow resources to help you, because a lot of times that one person co-op communicator office feels lonely, and you feel like you're never going to be able to get it all done. But with tools like ChatGPT and others, let those people in there, because it'll magnify your impact.
Kyle, how do you get yourself excited about ChatGPT? Is there a way that you break the ice with folks when you're talking about it?
Yes. Well, I asked ChatGPT for some electricity puns, like I'm amped up for this conversation, or let's get what you need, or I'm feeling a spark
what you need. Oh, the spark of inspiration.
I'm a big fan of electricity. It really lights up my life.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good example of if you have, I'm always looking for dad jokes to put into scripts for other people to read. So are you saying I could just ask ChatGPT for a list of dad jokes about marketing or communications?
My goodness, you could.
Oh dear. I don't have a comeback for this because I'm not using ChatGPT right now.
Resistance is futile, Megan.
Picard is rolling over in his not even grave yet. He just keeps making more shows. But wow. Thank you for that.
I'm hurt that you don't feel the same way.
This is too much. It's too much. Yeah. Thanks. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with Utility Pioneers. He is Kyle Allwine from Northern Neck Electric Cooperative, and I'm your host, Megan McCoy No at Pioneer Utility Resources. And until we talk or chat again, keep telling your story.
Story Connect is produced by Pioneer Utility Resources, a communications cooperative that is built to share your story. Story Connect is engineered by Lucas Smith of Lucky Sound Studio.